you worked for a private equity firm. That sounds like no small salary you're making there. And you had to jump into a whole bunch of unknown. And a lot of our listeners, this is an important conversation because a lot of our listeners are in that same seat right now. They have this passion like you had, and they're not sure how to transfer. Like, talk to a little bit about like maybe some of the things that are going through your head at the time, or some of the things people in those shoes should consider.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, the way things sort of worked out was I did one of my bigger deals at the time back in '07. It was like $1 million-ish condo at the time. So got a nice commission check from that. I got a nice bonus from my private equity firm that sort of tied into that. So, I was 26 years old. And at the time I said, okay, with this bonus that just hit, with this one deal I just closed, I had sort of $50,000 to $100,000 sort of saved up. And as a 26-year-old, you're like, okay, that's enough runway, even though it's probably different now. But that was enough runway at the time to say, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And, luckily things just, sort of went up from there. So it kind of was easy for me just because I had the cushion. And I would say that's probably the hardest thing for most people who are trying to make, real estate brokerage or investing a full-time thing. You need to have, 6 months to a year of sort of just, funds in place in case things don't work out.
So What I'm hearing there, and it's probably true, because a lot of people have the hard time with the decision, but that decision just gets easier the more money you have to fall back on,
Sure.
and the more runway you create for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So save a lot. Don't buy all that avocado toast.
There you go. That's all we need to know. That's enough knowledge for this episode.
Yeah.
So, well, Vic, let's hammer this home real quick though. As you're getting started, you're really focused on these A+ areas. Like I hear, I see on Instagram and I know exactly what I'm going to see. I'm going to see some beautiful graystones. Like I know exactly what I'm signing up for. When you first got started though, were you that focused, or was it, hey, like I got to pay the bills, I'll go out to, whatever, this suburb, that place, or were you always this disciplined in this, hey, this is my playground and I'm staying within it?
Yeah, given I started with the modern architecture angle, I mean, that was mostly in the city. I mean, it was hard enough to find that in the city. So then, and it was even harder in the suburbs. And then, given I lived in River North at the time when I started. So my business has always been sort of, I tell people, let's call it a 5-mile radius around the loop. And then, naturally, my client base, having worked in investment banking and private equity, some of my network and my former colleagues, they all tended to be in these, sort of nicer A+ areas. And that just sort of made it a little easier when you have that network of people who, can afford the real estate that in the areas that you're targeting.
So you leveraged your prior network in your new career in order to kind of add value and get started. A lot of people,
yeah, I mean,
a lot of people think like a new start.
Real estate is everybody's a client in real estate. Everybody can be a client. So, so if you have a network of, people you worked with in the corporate world or before, definitely leverage them and use that as a stepping stone.